Mufasa the Lion King explores how an orphaned cub came to be the guardian of everything the light touches in the Pride Lands, and how the close bond that blossoms between Mufasa and his adoptive brother Taka is tested by that journey. It's a chapter of Lion King history told to Simba's daughter, Kiara, by Rafiki, jumping between past and present as Kiara starts to understand her place in the circle of life.
The original Lion King has this really strong Shakespearean Hamlet backbone that sort of holds the drama together. I'd like to know for Mufasa, what were some of the dramatic inspirations that helped you lend structure to this movie?
You know, I think Jeff Nathanson did a really wonderful job of understanding that we're sort of standing in this sort of energy of Shakespeare, you know, coming out of the legacy of the original Lion King, and he just kept that energy. He threaded it so deeply through this film. So for me, it was just about the characters. You know, I knew in my head and in my bones that was sort of what we were standing on the shoulders of. And then you cast these really wonderful actors, you know, Kelvin Harrison Jr., Aaron Pierre, Tiffany Boone, Anika Noni Rose, you know, Tandiwe Newton. These people have performed on the stage. They are so rich, they get it. And I wanted all these monologues, these dialogues to have that same energy of you're at the Globe Theater and someone is speaking and you are just wrapped with attention. And then you have the visuals on top of that.
You mentioned Anika, actually. I really love having Anika and Keith David voicing Mufasa's parents. Why was it important to cast those two in that role?
The legacy of the Lion King is one of the great voices of our time. You know, Mr. James Earl Jones, may he rest in peace. And for this, you know, when you're talking about who are the parents, you know, of this character, I feel like those voices had to be just as powerful. I also knew they were going to have to sing this really wonderful duet. And so it was sort of like just thinking of all those different things. It felt like, you know, there's something about the pairing of these two that is just going to work. And then I knew I have to hand them off to Lin-Manuel, and it's like, hey, can you write something for these people to sing that is gonna like capture
I was thrilled to work with Anika. I've worked with her before, and I was thrilled to meet Keith David, who's one of my heroes. And one of the things we talked about in the vocal session was how he's never gotten to play La Mancha, and that was one of the ones he really wanted to play. And so he's got a real La Mancha line when he goes, "They call it," like he was calling on his inner Don Quixote with that.
And Lin, obviously you've written songs for a lot of Disney movies at this point, but a lot of them have been either remakes of previous Disney movies or totally original ones. Mufasa walks a kind of interesting line where it is a sequel to a remake, but we're still sort of finding new ground there. What were some of the challenges finding something that has that Lion King sound but is also driving into new territory?
Yeah, well, I think the Lion King sound has expanded a lot since 1994. That's what's incredible about it. You know, there's that immortal original soundtrack by Elton John and Tim Rice and Hans Zimmer. But then there's also Beyonce's album, The Gift, which came out in 2019, which was all these modern African rhythms and really expanded the vocabulary of what a Lion King song can sound like. There's the Broadway musical, which, again, the incredible work of Lebo M and Mark Mancina. I knew I needed Lebo in my corner. I knew I needed Mark in my corner. And I knew their arrangements would help take my songs to the next level.
What was the hardest song for you to crack in this movie?
Well, I'm proud to say that I think the hardest one for me to crack is Barry's favorite, which is Milele. You know, it's hard to describe paradise. It's hard to embody paradise as described by your parents to you. I really listen to a lot of spirituals. I listen to a lot of different kinds of music to get the vibe right. And then I really left space for Lebo M's harmonies. The melody's actually pretty simple. And as Sondheim would tell you, simple's the hardest thing to write. I can write you elaborate, rapid fire lyrics, but simple for me is the hardest to get at. And so I'm really proud of that one.
Mufasa the Lion King's voice cast were understandably excited not only to explore these beloved characters at a younger time in their lives, but to have Disney songs written by the guy behind We Don't Talk About Bruno and How Far I'll Go to call their own.
I found out really quickly. I mean, they didn't tell me it was Lin. I just listened to the music and I was like, I know Lin when I hear Lin. But I remember freaking out and being like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I was singing in concert, We Need to Talk About Bruno last night at karaoke. And here I am rehearsing my big number in The Lion King, written by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Okay, not everybody got a Lin-Manuel Miranda Lion King song.
Oh, he didn't write us a song.
Nope.
You guys didn't get, what
No,
gives?
I don't know. Ask him.
What is with
Ask
that?
Lin. I haven't spoken to him in 2 years because of that.
Yeah,
He's right over here. I can
exactly.
sense a little bit of.
Ignore the fact that I can't sing. He still didn't write me a song.
Yeah, exactly. Why should that stop?
Can The Rock sing that good?
Yeah. Could have auto-tuned.
Could AI a voice, good voice into my mouth? Just
Exactly.
do that thing they used to do in Disney movies where you have another person sing for me. I wouldn't care.
Who would you want your
Totally
voice
okay
double
with
to be?
Michael Bolton.
I think that makes sense.
By the way, great choice. I
think that makes
saw
sense.
him live with my parents in 1993, by the way, all right?
Much like hearing Michael Bolton sing live, seeing The Lion King for the first time is a rite of passage that has brought tears to many a dry eye.
I'm crying here because I have sun blasting
your
into my
allergies
face.
or
It's,
something,
it's
yeah.
giving me vibes of the first time I saw The Lion King. My dad had to take me out of the theater because I was sobbing so hard when Mufasa left. What was it like the first time you guys saw The Lion King? Did you look like this?
You know, I didn't look like this. The first time I saw The Lion King, I was babysitting my nephews, and I remember expecting them to look like that. And the youngest did, and the older nephew was just like, almost just like stunned. And I remember then 3 minutes later, they're like laughing. And I thought, this is a magic trick. But also too, we all had a conversation about what had happened. I realized they were processing a very complex emotion for the first time. You know, it takes a really powerful story format to do that. And that's the legacy that we're working on.
Yeah, I think that ability to hold space for grief is one of the gifts the Lion King gives us. I looked like that when the first time, when I was reading the script for the first time, and Taka throws the race because he says, I always wanted a brother. I was like, oh boy. I have two little boys. And so writing songs about a brotherhood and writing about that relationship was new territory for me as a writer, but also very accessible because of my kids.
I think my first time, probably when I was 3 or 4, so I think that was maybe 97 or 98. It was on VHS. It was on we had a really small black box TV. One that if the picture was fuzzy, you kind of hit it once or twice and it brought the image back. That was the first time I ever watched The Lion King, and it transported me. Certainly, even way before I knew that I would be gifted the opportunity to be part of this, it was my favorite Disney film, undoubtedly.
Same as Aaron, I would just watch it on VHS over and over again. I had my mom in her bedroom, she had a TV on top of the dresser, like the old school dressers, and I would sit on the edge of the bed like this and like watch it over and over again and rewind it, and I think I wore that VHS out and had to get a new one, and yeah, I was obsessed with
That's
it.
such a vivid image.
I know, I saw it too.
Like, yeah.
I was a little older already. I mean, I was like 15 or something like that. I loved it. I loved that whole era of Disney movies. Obviously, everyone did. Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. Saw all those in the theater. I loved it. And I loved the Broadway show.
Yeah, I saw it with my parents as a child. I was 12, I think, when it came out. And yeah, and I remember specifically loving Timon and Pumbaa.
When he was a young warthog. When I was a young warthog. Very nice. Thanks.
I honestly remember the video game more than I remember the movie. When I was a kid,
It's toughy.
You played it.
Oh, yeah.
On Genesis Sega. It's so hard. It starts.
Famously hard.
Oh my God. Yes,
Yeah.
I always thought it was just me. The part I struggled the most with was getting past the giraffes.
Yeah.
And that's like level 2 or something.
Yeah.
I really was struggling with that game, but I enjoyed it so much, and I just love the music, and it made me want to watch the movie again. I was like, maybe the cheat code's in the movie.
We're trapped. What do we do?